I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And I want you to be completely honest with me right now. No judgment here.
Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm always honest.
Have you ever looked at a task like maybe it's a report you need to write for work, or a really messy garage, or even just a textbook you promised yourself you'd read, and you just think to yourself, you know, I will do it tomorrow?
Only every single day of my life. I mean, honestly, I think that is probably the most human sentence in any language. I'll do it tomorrow.
It's so universal.
Yeah.
And then, of course, tomorrow comes, and the garage is still messy, and the report is totally blank. It's that friction,
Wow.
that massive gap between wanting a result and actually wanting to do the work right now.
Yeah, it is the eternal battle because we are biologically wired to seek comfort and avoid effort. It's not a personal failing. It's how our brains are built from the ground up.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the power of self-discipline. But I have to say, the source material we have for this one is, well, it's a little unexpected.
It is. Usually we're looking at, heavy psychological studies or business journals.
Yeah. But today we are looking at a transcript from the Mr. English channel, which is a conversation between two hosts, Emily and Paul, and it's designed specifically for people who are learning English as a second language.
Which might sound a bit simple on the surface, right? Like, what can a basic language lesson teach us about high-level productivity?
That's exactly what I thought at first. But as I was reading through it, I realized something really profound. Because they are teaching English learners, people who are facing, honestly, one of the hardest cognitive challenges out there, the advice is just incredibly distilled.
It's pure.
Right? It's pure. It is like high-level behavioral psychology, but they stripped away all the confusing jargon. It's so practical.
That is such a great way to put it. So our mission today isn't to necessarily learn English vocabulary, though you might pick up a few good phrases. The mission is to extract the actual productivity system that Emily and Paul are teaching.
We want to figure out how to stop negotiating with our own laziness, how to become, as they put it, the boss of your own brain.
Yeah, the boss of your brain. And because the source material is all about clarity for learners, we actually agreed on something before we hit record today.
Yes, we did. We are going to mirror that same approach. We're going to keep our own conversation very accessible. So we'll keep our pace moderate, and we will make sure our vocabulary isn't overly complicated.
Right, no heavy jargon from us either. So whether you are a native speaker or you are someone using this deep dive to practice your own English listening skills, this is entirely for you.
I think that's the perfect approach. Let's just make it usable for everyone. So let's get right into it. Introduce us to our guides for this journey. Who exactly are Emily and Paul?
Okay, so we have Emily and Paul. Emily is the really enthusiastic one. She's the motivator, definitely the teacher figure, but she's also very open about her own personal struggles with distraction.
Which is refreshing.
Super refreshing. And then there is Paul. And honestly, Paul is just us.
Paul is so relatable.
He really is. He has these big dreams, he wants to be a superhero of conversation, but he openly admits that his biggest daily battle is just getting out of his bed in the morning. And that is actually exactly where the source material kicks off.
Yes, the 6 a.m. struggle. I think every single person listening has been there.
Oh, absolutely. The 6 a.m. struggle. Paul describes the scenario that is just so visceral. His alarm goes off, beep, beep, beep. He opens one eye, he looks out the window, and it is dark. And it is cold.
And his bed is incredibly warm. The bed is soft. The bed is perfect.
The bed is a trap. And this is where the really interesting psychology starts to happen. Paul describes this internal dialogue he has. His brain actually starts whispering to him.
Like a little devil on his shoulder.
Exactly. It says, Paul, it's okay. You worked really hard yesterday. Just sleep for 1 more hour. You deserve it.
See, that voice is so dangerous because it sounds completely logical. It uses this sort of self-care language to completely sabotage you. It pretends to be your best friend.
It totally does. It's your brain desperately seeking a short-term dopamine reward, which is just comfort over your actual long-term goals. But here is the massive key takeaway from Paul, and I want you, the listener, to really catch this. He didn't argue with that voice.
Because you can't.
Right. He didn't try to pump himself up with a motivational speech while lying down.
Because you cannot out-argue your own brain at 6 a.m. You are going to lose that debate every single time.
You will lose. So Paul used what fancy psychologists would call behavioral activation, but he just keeps it beautifully simple. He completely bypassed his mind. He said he just stood up.
Yes, stood up.
Yep. He physically threw the covers off, swung his legs over, and put his feet right on the floor.
It sounds almost too simple to be a real strategy, doesn't it? Like, just stand up. It feels a bit like cheating.
It feels like cheating, but it is profound. We have this misconception. We think, I need to feel motivated before I can take action. We sit there waiting for the feeling to arrive.
And it never does.
Right. Paul's approach proves the exact opposite. He realized, I need to take action, and then the motivation will actually follow the action. By the time his shoes were on his feet, the argument in his head was over. He was up. The hardest part was completely gone.
So step one of this whole system is really just do not negotiate with terrorists, even if the terrorist is your own sleepy brain. Just move your physical body.
Exactly.
But, okay, let's say you do that. You are up. You are sitting at your desk. You are finally ready to do the work. Then comes the next villain in our story.
Oh, the spider.
The spider. I absolutely loved this part of the transcript because Emily, who is supposed to be the really disciplined teacher here, just completely falls apart.
She completely loses it.
She sits down to practice writing in English. She has her pen ready. Her paper is out.
Yeah.
And then she sees a tiny spider on the wall.
And the distraction trap just snaps right shut on her.
Snap shut. And she didn't just glance at it and go back to work. She went down a massive rabbit hole. She said she spent an entire hour, a full hour, just wondering about this spider.
She was wondering if it had a family, right?
Yes. Does it have a family? Where is it traveling to?
Yeah.
She literally pulled out her phone to search if spiders like to drink coffee.
Which is just hilarious. And the final outcome of that hour, 0 words written.
0. The spider totally won the battle.
Now, obviously we can laugh at the spider story, but I think this is a crucial lesson. If you replace the word spider with checking your email or suddenly deciding you need to clean the kitchen or just scrolling through photos on your phone.
It's the exact same mechanism.
It is. The brain looks at the work, the English writing in her case, and perceives it as painful or just really boring. So it desperately looks for an escape hatch. And suddenly that spider is the most fascinating creature in the entire world.
Because it is literally anything other than the work. It's almost comforting, honestly, to know that even the experts end up Googling spider beverage preferences sometimes.
It is comforting.
It validates that distraction is not a moral failing on your part. It is just a biological default. But thankfully, Emily and Paul don't just leave us stuck in the spider web. This leads to what I think is the absolute centerpiece of their advice. Strategy number 1.
The 5-minute rule.
I have heard different variations of this before, but break down exactly how they apply it in this source material for the learners.
Okay, so the core problem is that looking at a really big task is genuinely scary. If Paul says to himself, I need to study complex grammar rules for 2 full hours, his brain freaks out. It releases stress hormones.
It triggers that fight or flight response.
Exactly. And flight usually wins, so he goes right back to bed.
The mountain just looks way too high to climb, so you don't even bother putting your boots on.
Precisely. So the 5-minute rule completely lowers the mountain. The deal you make with yourself is this. You say, I will only do this activity for exactly 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, I have full permission to just stop and walk away.
See, that is the part I have always been a little skeptical about. If I honestly tell myself I can stop, won't I just, stop? And then I've only done 5 minutes of work for the day. That does not seem very productive.
You might stop. And honestly, that is okay. But the source material suggests, and actual psychology firmly backs this up, that 90% of the time, you won't stop.
Really?
Yeah, because the friction is almost entirely in the start. It is that activation energy required to go from 0 to 1. Once you are 5 minutes into it, once the book is already open, or you are 5 minutes into the jog, the anxiety just dissipates.
Your brain realizes, oh, this actually isn't that bad.
Exactly. It's a bluff. You are essentially bluffing your own brain.
That is so clever. ML used this for exercise, didn't she?
She did. She told herself she didn't have to go for a run. She just had to put on her gym clothes. That was the only deal she made. But when she was standing there in her spandex, she felt ridiculous just sitting back down on the couch. So she went out and ran.
Momentum is just an incredibly powerful thing. But I want to pivot for a second to something that happens when the system fails, because inevitably you will have a day where the spider wins. You will waste the hour. You'll skip the gym entirely.
And that's exactly where most people just quit entirely.
Right. Emily talks about how awful she felt after that spider incident. She felt immensely guilty. She wanted to just label herself as lazy. And I think this is where the transcript drops his biggest wisdom bomb. It's all about becoming a kind boss.
This concept of the kind boss versus the mean boss is absolutely vital. We tend to think that to be truly disciplined, we have to be a drill sergeant.
Oh, yeah, we think we need to scream at ourselves internally, like, you idiot, you wasted so much time, you have to work harder.
I definitely have that drill sergeant in my head. I think most of us do. We operate on the assumption that guilt is a good fuel.
But Paul points out a massive flaw in that logic. If you abuse yourself internally, if you make yourself feel deep shame and sadness over a mistake, what do you naturally want to do next?
I want to comfort myself. I want to feel better.
Exactly. You want to soothe that emotional pain.
Yeah.
And how do we usually soothe pain? We eat chocolate, we watch mindless TV, we completely avoid the work that caused the stress in the first place.
So the shame actually creates more procrastination. It's a terrible negative feedback loop.
That is actually kind of mind-blowing when you say it out loud. The guilt is driving you right back to the couch.
Yeah.
So having a mean boss in your head actually creates a really lazy employee.
It really does. So the kind boss approach isn't just about being soft or nice. It's intensely practical. A kind boss looks at the situation and says, okay, you got distracted by a bug. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Humans get distracted. Let's forgive it and just try again for 5 minutes.
It totally removes the emotional weight, so you can just get back to the actual work.
Yeah.
Emily had a very specific example of this with her guitar.
She did. She was really trying to learn how to play the guitar, but one night her fingers hurt, she was exhausted from work, and she chose to just watch a movie on Netflix instead of doing her practice.
Which, according to the mean boss, is a massive failure.
Right. The mean boss would be screaming, you see. You never stick to anything. You are just bad at guitar. Give up. And she probably would have quit. But she applied the kind boss mindset instead.
Just accepted it.
She accepted that one day was for movies and the next day was for music.
And the most important part is she came back.
She came back, she picked it up and played for 10 minutes the very next day. The core lesson here is that consistency isn't about being perfect every single day of your life. It's about the comeback. It's about reducing the recovery time after you have a slip-up.
I love that phrase. The comeback is more important than the streak. Okay, so we have the 5-minute rule to get us started, and we have the kind boss to keep us from quitting when we stumble. But sometimes, even that is not quite enough. Sometimes we need a much bigger pull. We need the why.
Yes. Strategy number 3. Discipline is just exhausting if it is totally aimless. If you are just studying grammar for the sake of studying grammar, you are going to burn out quickly. You need an emotional anchor.
Paul's why was surprisingly touching. He didn't just say, oh, I want to be fluent in English. He said, I want to play guitar and sing songs with my friends at my birthday party.
Notice how incredibly specific that is. He can actually see it in his mind. He can hear the music. He can feel that emotional connection with his friends. That is true visualization.
So for you, the listener, or the English learners in the source material, it's not just about saying, I want to learn this software or I want to read this giant book.
Yeah.
It has to be, I want to lead the team meeting without feeling stupid. Or I want to travel and have a real conversation with someone at the airport.
Exactly. The source material suggests you have to actively visualize that specific success when the daily work gets really boring. When you are just trudging through the mud, you have to look up and clearly see the castle you are walking toward.
It gives you that sudden burst of chemical energy to just keep stepping forward.
It really does.
So we have all these great internal tools. We have the mindset shifts.
Yeah.
But Emily and Paul also talk about the external world. Because let's face it, our modern environment is often perfectly designed to make us lazy.
Strategy number 4, environment design. Or, as Emily famously puts it in the transcript,
Good cookie defense.
it's a cookie defense. This is just a classic, honest recognition of our limited resources. Emily admits that if a delicious cookie is sitting right there on the table and she is hungry, she simply does not have the willpower to not eat it. She will lose that battle 10 times out of 10.
I think we all vastly overestimate our own willpower. We think we should be able to just resist the urge. But Emily is essentially saying, don't even fight the battle.
Exactly. Why fight a war if you don't have to? Emily's strategy is just simple friction management. She makes the bad habit physically hard to do. She hides the cookies in a really high cupboard.
So to get them, she has to drag a chair over, climb up there.
Right, and it gives her brain just enough time to pause and say, wait, do I really actually want this right now?
And on the flip side of that, she makes the good habit ridiculously easy. She puts a healthy apple right on the table in plain sight. It's the path of least resistance.
Paul takes this to a totally hilarious extreme with his own morning routine. Remember how incredibly hard it was for him to get out of that warm bed?
Oh yeah, the 6 a.m. struggle.
He started taking his gym shoes and putting them literally right in front of his bedroom door.
Like an actual tripwire.
Basically. To physically leave his bedroom, he has to either step over them or put them on his feet. He blocks his own path with the good decision. He literally cannot ignore them. They are sitting there screaming at him, "Put us on!"
I actually really like that tactic. It's all about designing your physical space so that the lazy option is the inconvenient option.
Yes.
If you want to play less video games, actually unplug the console and put it away in the closet. If you want to read more before bed, put the book directly on your pillow.
Exactly. Put the book on the pillow. That is one that Emily highly recommends. Make the right choice, the default choice. If you physically have to move a book just to go to sleep, you might as well just read one page.
Okay, so we've hacked our brain, we've hacked our living room, but there's one major variable we haven't controlled yet in this system: other people.
Ah, yes. The social trap.
Poor Paul. He is just such a nice guy. He really wants to finish his work report, but his friends keep calling him to play video games online. And because he's a good friend, he just says yes.
And then what's the result? He is up until 2 a.m. desperately trying to finish his work, and he is absolutely miserable the entire next day. This is a huge barrier to discipline for a lot of people. The fear of missing out or the fear of disappointing your friends.
I deeply struggle with this one. Saying no to people just feels aggressive to me. It feels like I'm rejecting the actual person, not just the activity they suggested.
And that is exactly what Emily coaches him on. She introduces this subtle but incredibly powerful linguistic shift. She says, you don't have to say no. You just say, not now.
Not now.
Right. You say, I would love to play, but I really have to finish this report first. I will be online at 8 p.m.
Oh, that's brilliant. It validates the friendship. It says, I want to hang out with you. But it still firmly protects your own priority.
It sets a clear boundary without building a massive wall between you and your friends. It is really useful. And it connects directly to the final point they make, which I found so refreshing for a productivity topic.
What's that?
Well, often these discipline gurus preach about grinding constantly, losing sleep, waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, no matter what.
Oh, the whole hustle culture mindset. Sleep is for the weak.
Exactly, that toxic hustle culture. But Emily corrects Paul when he talks about staying up super late to finish his work. She argues that true rest is actually a vital part of discipline.
Because, as we established earlier, a tired brain is a lazy brain.
Biologically, yes, it is. When you are sleep deprived, your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that handles all your willpower and your decision-making, is severely impaired. Your impulse control just drops to zero. You are far more likely to eat the hidden cookie, skip the gym, and spend an hour watching a spider.
So going to bed early isn't laning out. It isn't being weak or lazy. It is a highly strategic move to recharge the battery so the machine actually works tomorrow.
Exactly. Protecting your sleep is probably the most disciplined thing you can possibly do. If you really want to leverage the power of your brain, you have to let it rest.
We have covered a massive amount of ground here today. I want to make sure this really sticks for you, the listener. Let's try to synthesize this entire conversation into a quick cheat sheet. If someone wants to turn this deep dive into action right now, what are the 5 steps?
Okay, let's run it down.
Step 1.
Start small. Use the 5-minute rule. Do not look at the whole terrifying mountain. Just look at the first 5 minutes. Lower the barrier to entry until it is so incredibly low that you cannot say no to it.
Step 2.
Be a kind boss. When you inevitably mess up, and you will, because of the spiders and the distractions, don't spiral into shame. Forgive yourself quickly and just get back to it. Shame kills productivity, but compassion actually saves it.
Step 3.
Remember your why. Visualize the highly specific emotional result you want. Sing the song at the birthday party. Give the big presentation. Feel the success before it actually happens.
Step 4.
Design your environment. Increase the friction for your bad habits, like hiding the cookies, and decrease the friction for your good habits, like putting the shoes right by the door. Make the good choice the lazy choice.
And step 5.
Protect your time and your energy. Learn to say not now to your friends and prioritize your sleep as a primary tool for your success.
It is such a powerful, accessible toolkit. And the source material actually ends with a little challenge for the learners, doesn't it? It's a sort of daily mantra.
They do. They ask the listener to actually say the words out loud. Just say, I can do it.
It sounds a little cheesy, doesn't it? Like, I can do it.
It does sound a bit cheesy, but affirmations actually work on your identity. It is about actively claiming the identity of a highly disciplined person. You are telling your brain, I am the kind of person who actually does things. And I love the final analogy Paul uses to wrap the whole lesson up. He compares discipline to a muscle.
The superhero analogy.
Right. He says the very first time you try to use discipline, it is really heavy, it hurts, you feel weak. But the 10th time you lift it, it is a little lighter. The 100th time, it's completely easy.
That is really the most hopeful message here. If you are deeply struggling today, it doesn't mean you are broken. It just means you are at the gym for the very first time. You're just building the muscle.
Every single time you choose the apple over the cookie or you choose the desk over the warm bed, you are physically rewiring your brain. You are slowly becoming the superhero of your own life.
So that is our final challenge to you, the listener.
Yeah.
We have given you the theory. Now you need the actual practice.
We have a question for you to mull over as we finish. What is the one thing, even a really small thing, that you've been putting off? The thing you promised you would do tomorrow?
Can you do it for just 5 minutes? Not tomorrow. Right now. Immediately after this audio ends.
Don't wait for the feeling. Just stand up.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the strategies of Mr. English. We hope you feel a little more equipped to be the boss of your own brain.
Stay strong out there.
We will see you in the next deep dive.
Bye.